Hello guys, welcome back to our third instalment of the Let's Talk Football podcast. If you've missed our first two episodes, check them out in our individual channels, which will be in the description. Today I'm here with Steve from SJ Games as always.
How's it going, guys?
And today we're going to be talking about the dealings in the Premier League summer transfer window. And I'm going to be taking the role of the flops for the summer transfer.
And I'll be taking on who has performed well since their move in the summer.
So without further ado, let's talk football.
So, kicking things off in no particular order, Will, who's the first player you've got for us?
So my first player is Fabian Delph. Now there was a lot of controversy around his transfer.
The so-called snake.
The so-called snake, yeah, and the loyalty he showed at the start, which was overruled. So yeah, he's made 3 appearances and he's only got 27 minutes in game play, and they're all off the bench as well. To be fair, he has been injured from July to the end of August, and then he was injured again from the start of September to the start of November.
He's just getting back into it now, isn't he?
He is, yeah, and I know you could say, well, is he really a flop if he's been injured, as he's not been able to perform in the games, because he's not been able to play the games. But I think if you pay, that sort of money for a player, you want him to play, and because he's been injured, I'd say he has been a flop.
I'm sure we'll see over the coming weeks if he manages
I think, yeah.
his game. So, for me, the first player I've got who's been in terrific form since his summer move is Petr Cech from Arsenal.
Yep, I can see why that is.
The goalkeeper that Arsenal have been missing for many, many years. Only cost them 10 million from rivals Chelsea.
It's a bargain. It really is. Good age as well for a goalkeeper.
And so far he's made 13 appearances for Arsenal and got 7 clean sheets.
That's outstanding.
That for Arsenal has been huge. He is the kind of goalkeeper that will get you 10 to 12 points over the season.
He is, yeah. I think they've been missing a good solid keeper since Jens Lehmann, really.
And I think the Chelsea fans were upset that he left, but it was the right career move for Cech, and I think the Chelsea fans respect him enough to be able to want him to.
Yeah, he's been a loyal servant to the club. Been there since they won, Premier Leagues, Champions League, FA Cup. So he is worth it. So in my second player now, I've got Depay. Now,
it was a big move, wasn't it?
It was a big move. 25 million. Now, it may not seem a lot to a club like United who spend willy-nilly, a lot of money on players, and he's made 13 appearances in all competitions, and he's only scored once.
Yeah.
And 3 of those are on the bench, but to show how bad he's played, maybe you could say it's how bad he's played, he's been replaced 5 of those games.
He had a good start in the Champions League. I think it was against Club Brugge, where he scored twice, I think. But recently he's been out of the team, and they brought in Jesse Lingard, the young lad, haven't they?
Yeah, he's done really well. He's keeping him out of the team, I think, really.
So Depay has his work cut out. Next up, I've got Yohan Cabaye, who's been terrific since he moved from PSG to Crystal Palace. Bit of a shock move.
It was a shock move. I mean, from such a big club to a mediocre Crystal Palace at best.
But saying they're mediocre, Cabaye has definitely given them a lift. Currently in 8th place, Crystal Palace. Cabaye has contributed 4 goals and 4 assists in just 12 appearances.
And it's been big for them. It really has. He's the top goal scorer so far.
And so far, a fee of around £10 million is looking like a real bargain for Crystal Palace. It looks like
a steal. So, keeping with Crystal Palace, I've got Connor Wickham. Now, the £9 million move, £9 million move.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and we've just said about the 10 million Cabaye. That's looking like a bargain. The 9 million Wickham looks like a lot to be paid at the minute. He has been injured since the start of September to the 6th of November with a calf strain, and I think, as with Delph, you can't be injured. Sometimes it's not really avoidable, but when you pay that much, you want them to be playing. He's only played 4 games, and in those 4 games, he's only made 1 chance as well.
As a striker in the Premier League, you should be looking, if you're at a club like Crystal Palace, you should be looking for like 1 or 2 goals every 4 games.
You should, yeah.
That's the kind of ratio you should be looking at.
Yeah, and with a club like Crystal Palace in the mid-table, whenever they spend, 5 to 10 million on a player, they're always going to be the star player.
Well, Connor Wickham, when he was younger, Sunderland spent £8 million to acquire him themselves from Ipswich when he was about 18, 19 years old, and he didn't really produce at Sunderland, so it was a shock for me when he moved for
that much.
£9 million.
I think so, yeah. So who's your next player, Steve?
Well, This is the biggest bargain for me I've got on my list. It is Andre Ayew, who cost Swansea City exactly £0 when he moved from Marseille
Free transfer.
at the end of his contract. Already 5 goals in 12 appearances. Admittedly, they were all towards the start of the season before Swansea had their small slump where they've won just once in 8 games.
Yeah.
But I think if Ayew and the rest of the Swansea team can recreate their early form, I think they should be okay. And I think Ayew is taken to the Premier League very well.
He has, yeah. And with my next player, it's been players like Ayew and Gomez, which have kept a player called Eder out of the Swansea City
Not a player who many of you may know, to be honest.
It's not, no. And the Brazilian, he's played 10 games and they've all been off the bench, but he's only had 2 shots. Now you've got to question why that is.
Well, you said he played around 120 minutes, hasn't he, so far?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's over 1.5 games nearly, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I know it's all off the bench, but...
No, but if you come off the bench, you should be looking to make an impact on a game, and he clearly hasn't so far. Just 2 shots.
Especially with Swansea not doing so well after that, run of 8 games, as you said, as they're currently sitting in 14th. And it's players like Eder, which you want to, make his mark on the Premier League and, put his stamp on it. Who's your next player, Steve?
Well, next, I've got a player who has really improved Tottenham Hotspur, and that is Toby Alderweireld, the man who was on loan at Southampton last year, if you'll remember.
Yeah.
And Southampton really wanted to make his move permanent in the summer. Spurs beat them to it to acquire him for £11.5 million from Atletico Madrid. The Belgian already has 4 clean sheets and a goal in 12 games and has started to form a formidable partnership with Vertonghen in the heart of the defence for Tottenham.
Yeah, and with the 2 Belgians, I think it's looking like a good future.
They look
for
like
them.
they have very good chemistry between
yeah.
them, and that could be what pushes Tottenham to the top 4.
Yep, and so my last player is probably the one which has disappointed me personally after liking him so much last year, is Mitrovic. And he
Newcastle.
for Newcastle, and they're 17th in the league. So, because he cost 14 million, which for a club like Newcastle is quite a lot when they're 17th.
It's a lot of money when in past transfer windows Mike Ashley has been reluctant to spend.
He has been, yeah. And so to say, I'm going to spend 40 million on one striker, and then for that striker not to produce,
especially when it's a young striker like Mitrovic, only 20 years old himself.
He is, yeah. So, with his stats, he's got 1 red card in that game, and that was in one of his first appearances. And
that's against Arsenal.
Yeah, and it's definitely not what you want, especially from such a young guy.
He's a bit of a hothead. He's been compared to Diego Costa, I think. I don't think he's as bad as Costa in the attitude department.
No. Yeah, so he's also got 3 yellow cards as well, and it's the beginning of the season. It's not what you want.
I suppose it's encouraging for Newcastle that they've got a player who's willing to get himself about in physical.
Yeah. So yeah, he with the Premier League being so physical as it is, it'll help quite a lot.
He might just need to acclimatise to the Premier League.
Yeah, but with his physicality, he has only still won 46% of his duels.
He should be winning a lot more than that.
Yeah, especially being a big guy as well.
Yeah.
And in those 10 appearances, he's only scored twice as well.
If Newcastle are going to be staying up, he needs to be scoring a lot more.
And I feel sorry for his partner, Wijnaldum, who they acquired in the summer as well. He's been a good signing for them so far, but he shouldn't have to be scoring the goals. He should be assisting Mitrovic.
Yeah. I have Dimitri Payet from West Ham.
We massive signing.
It seems everyone loves this guy. Just £10 million to bring in from Marseille. Marseille losing another one of their big players like Ayew. But Payet has played 12 games and he's scored 5 goals and got 3 assists, which I think for a club like West Ham has just lifted them to the next level.
It's massive for them, yeah.
I think they're in the top 7 at the moment, and Payet is a big reason for that.
Yeah.
But recently he's just picked up an injury and believe he's going to be out for a couple of months, which would be a big hit for West Ham.
It will be, yeah. I mean, with their other summer signings, they've signed really well in the summer.
They spent well.
They've done well, yeah. They've used their money very well, and so that's all, is it, Steve?
I do have an honourable mention for Kevin De Bruyne. Was unsure whether to include him in the 5 because of the price tag, £55 million, but 8 Premier League games, 3 goals, 4 assists. In total, he's played 11 games, 6 goals, 6 assists.
Yeah.
Now, you compare the price tag of him to what Manchester United paid for Angel Di Maria last year.
Yeah, you'd have thought it'd have been a similar sort of signing.
But De Bruyne has managed to adjust his game to the Premier League. A lot of people will say it's because he's played in the Premier League before.
Yeah.
But did he really actually play at Chelsea?
That's true, yeah, because he was kind of wasted at Chelsea, really. He wasn't playing to his full potential.
I think Chelsea dropped the ball on that one for me, letting De Bruyne go.
I think so. They should have just sent him out on loan, I think.
So City will be looking for De Bruyne to carry on this form throughout the season as they look to charge towards the title.
Yep, and he'll be a big factor for their consistency throughout the season.
He will.
Yep. So that wraps up today's episode. And if you're listening on the podcast, give us a rate and a review. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a like, comment, and subscribe.
And let us know how we could improve if possible.
Yep, in the comments. So that's all from me.
And that's it from me.
I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you again very soon.